It's 7:36. I'm going to convene the meeting of the May 4th City Council meeting. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the roll, please.
Belzak.
Here.
Clistic.
Here.
Gustafson. Kenny.
Here.
Shower.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. That takes us to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to bring forth comments that they may have regarding anything. And I believe we have a speaker here tonight who's going to come to the podium and share some information with us. Please just announce your name.
My name is Father Bob Colorisi. You notice it matches my collar. Anyway, I'm here representing the Carmelites. You know, as we know, we have the big complex of 40 acres here on Bailey Road. And one of the things we've had some issues with is the city owns the, the right-of-way right next to the road. And that's where it seems to go up and down. And for many years, we both worked together sometimes to keep it. But the last 4 or 5 years, we've been told we can't touch it. It's city property. And if you go there, it's all eroded away. We have put tons of dirt in there. We actually got what do you call it? This is Ryan here. And, the lawn. We sodded it all. It's just all wrong. It's so sheep and it's all going over the place. There's nothing we can do about it. It looks like hell for a city that we're proud of. We worked here. We've been here for 64 years, and we'd like the city to look at that. You know, there was some negotiation when we turned the Carefree Village over to Retreat House because it was not only losing money, but it was badly updated. We did it, and there was an attempt to try to work it because obviously it's buffering the road. It keeps the road up, but it's also merging down into our area. It looks like hell, and all the plants have died, the trees are dying because all the stuff goes away. So we'd just like somebody to look at it. Our provincial asked to go got a lawyer to send a note to the council. I think you might have seen it. And then he asked me to do a video, which I think many of you got, which just shows the damage there. I'd like you to look at it, to do something with it. We're not in a position, we were doing pretty well until March 1st when all this stuff collapsed. But, so we can't do anything about it, but we would like the city to consider looking at it, okay? It looks like heck, and it makes us look bad too, as well as the city. Because we've spent enormous energies trying to clean up that area and redo that campus, and now we got this real eyesore, and it's a danger because all the stuff is eroding down right into our properties. Okay? Any questions? You guys okay?
Any questions?
Mayor Marquez, if I may comment when you have an opportunity, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Gondek.
Thank you. Father, with all due respect, this is the first I heard of any type of denial from working in the right-of-way. By all means, we, the city, are more than accommodating to work with anyone. And something like this, I have met out there with Brian. And just a real quick 30-second brief history. There was a driveway that used to be adjacent to those that are currently in place. Those timbers have all rotted. I know that I have spoken with Mr. Anderson and basically proposed back then, probably about 5 years ago, a type of retaining wall and landscaping to where we can beautify everything at approximately a $40,000 cost. Obviously, those costs have changed today, and I don't have any type of estimate at this point. By all means, Father, we are willing to work with you. We are willing to do whether it's 40. If you guys want to come up with a landscape plan, forward that landscape plan, I'm more than happy to, come to some type of agreement with this, but never denied any opportunity for somebody to work there. And whatever anyone does at this point is really spending hours.
Dan, let me ask you a question. And this is simply, as it appears, an aesthetic correction, correct?
There's some minor erosion, okay? When I say minor erosion, it's gotten to the point where the roots of the existing trees there, which are not the most prevalent trees, but they're holding the ground in place. So there is some erosion, but the erosion is also due to those timbers, more than likely were part of the Carmelites that were installed as a cover for the existing roadway or driveway that was in place years ago.
So why, in effect, are you offering even a 50-50 solution to the problem when it's an aesthetic issue and it's not something caused by the city of Darien?
It is our right-of-way, and the right-of-way should be maintained
Okay.
where it has the opportunity to be maintained. Currently, you don't have that opportunity. Type of operation. So, now, Carmelite's not working with us. It was, well, whatever we do is going to be a waste of money. So it's got to be an opportunity. Parties to bear some cost and responsibility.
All right, it appears to me that this is an issue that needs to be further explored. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to the Municipal Services Committee for a discussion. Now, you mentioned a 50-50 plan. I don't know what their recommendation is going to be. I would like this explored by Municipal Services where they could look at every aspect of this and then come back with a recommendation. Because we don't know if there's a cost associated. We don't know what the fix would cost. Maybe fixed, there's a very simple solution. So I'm going to send this to Municipal Services, have Municipal Services explore this, look at this, and come back with a recommendation.
Mayor, for a date out in the future a bit, this year we have no...
Yeah, to be quite honest, so Father understands.
I appreciate that, and I'm not making, it isn't that you weren't doing it, everything stopped. Our whole attention got to be a new shrine and we're building up there. Now I'm back in my other mode of trying to clean up some of the other issues on campus. That's all. And this one here, but I was told, got to go to the city, you can't touch it. We've been told constantly so that it's not ours, because I used to go and plant myself. I used to love to do that. That's part of my thing. So no, I'd appreciate it if you continue to look at it and study it. It just looks like heck. We've, if you drive by, it looks terrible. And then when you walk below it, and people do walk between the meditation garden, it just looks, then it's really collapsing on us.
Father, I think what you need to, what Mr. Manna was saying is, we have not budgeted, if the Municipal Services Committee looks at this, and they come up with a dollar amount, we cut our budget significantly this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. And so we don't have any money budgeted for this. So we would have to really take a look at how we would remedy this. That's why I want Municipal Services to cover it. Mr.
One
Mann.
point of clarification, Father, I think you're saying that the city wouldn't let that you touch that or the church touch that. Are you asking now to go and do something in there?
Well, I don't
I mean,
think
we
we
can give
can,
you permission. I think what Dan just said, if the church wants to go attack that now and work on something, by all means, we're giving you permission.
If I had some money, I would do it. You know what, to be honest with you, just because we're the one
Okay.
that lives with it. I can't. You know, we've been closed since March. We've lost
Yes.
$90,000. We're totally in debt. I understand budgets and cutting. You
Sure.
know. And so, but I just would like it brought to your attention and somehow get something done there.
No, I just misunderstood the comment about that we wouldn't let you on, therefore you didn't fix it. But at some point in the future here, if we're talking about this, there might be a chance where the church is doing better and you say, I'm not going to wait for the city. Sounds like.
The problem is, Ryan Ader, hold on.
Brian, we can't hear you.
Ryan Anderson, he's our director.
Hi, Dan, how are you? I am Ryan Anderson, I'm the Director of Facilities for the Carmelites. Sorry, I know you can't see me. Sorry, I apologize. The Carmelites have invested nearly $16,000 into that hill prior to the last few years. Our council and the provincial council that oversees all of campus, including Father Bob, were advised not to touch it by our provincial council because it is city property. Now, what is happening is every plant that we've ever planted in there, flowers, some of the sod has been maintained. It either washes away or is killed by the salt that the city trucks are driving through. We've planted lilies of the valley, we've planted sod, we've put over $7,000 worth of black dirt in there. It washes down and runs right into the storm sewer that is right inside of that retaining wall. And Dan's been out there, and we're trying to work with Dan, but as of now, we have been told not to touch it by our provincial council.
That clarifies, thanks.
Yeah, so Dan, I apologize for that, for not clarifying. Yes, Dan and I worked together, tried to come up with a proposal, but it really needs to be like re-engineered. It's a horrible, horrible situation. The tree roots are all showing, everything is washing down,
I think that's the way the mayor wants to go, municipal services, take
yeah,
a thorough.
I would agree with that.
I'm going to leave it at this, that this is going to be something that's sent to municipal services. Municipal services will explore this, they'll determine what the proper solution to the issue is, and at that point, we'll have further discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll touch base with him tomorrow, please.
Mary Sullivan.
Yes, I just want to say, because I do ride my bike and walk over there, and I've even asked others, and there has been time when there's been washout onto the sidewalk. So it can be hazardous at times, and that concerns me that, since the right-of-way does belong to the city, that, even in the short term, I think it's our due diligence as a city to make sure that area is safe, even if it's a matter of just, not necessarily investing or building something, but the timbers are starting to deteriorate, things are starting to get onto the sidewalk. And it's obviously over the last few years started to look a lot worse. But looking aside, aesthetics aside, it wouldn't be nice to have it beautified because everything else over there is beautiful. But I'm concerned because it's a very busy walkway for people, for bikes, and that I feel like it's our job as a city to make sure that it's safe and secure and it's not going to wash out all over the sidewalk and someone get hurt, gravel, anything like that.
I'm sorry, but that's not our sidewalk over there. Our right-of-way basically at the retaining wall that's currently in place. So, pathway, and the Carmelites want to speak to that, but it's not our property where that path referring to is. So,
But when the mud runs across it, it's from there.
Okay, I just assumed the sidewalk was ours, but if it's ours,
We'll vet this at the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
it's the sidewalk, whose responsibility?
Be safe.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And again, I think at this point, we're going to, like I said, we're going to send this to municipal services. We'll have them take a look at this. Municipal services will have to determine the proper solution to this, and from that point, we'll go on.
When you open up things, you open barber shops, please.
Thank you, Father. I wish they could, one day just to do this. Take care, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to approval of minutes for April 20th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 20th, 2020? Alderman Vaughn, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Any questions or comments? If not, the roll.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Gustafson. 7 ayes.
The minutes have been approved. Takes us to receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications they'd like to share? Alderman Shower.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, the father was just here speaking about their counsel had contacted me named George Keeley about it. I have a turn around and submit on over to the office so you guys can review it. So,
Thank you, Ted. Anyone else? Alderman Klistad.
Thank you, Mayor. I received a phone call from a DA6 high school senior parent from Stacy Latina. Gave me a call call to say that they're putting a program together for the seniors from Hinsdale South, to where anyone in the community can adopt a senior from Hinsdale South. And the reasoning behind this is that they don't have any graduation this year, there's no prom this year, and so there's looking for community members to be interested in adopting a senior, and not literally taking a senior home and taking care of them, but rather gift or maybe some advice, career advice, school advice. And so I guess there's a Facebook page that you can join, and they're showing seniors where they're going, who are graduating, and they're looking for people who like to adopt a senior.
Thank you, Tom.
That's all I have.
Lester?
Thank you, Mayor. I have one communication between Dan Herzl at 6721. Reached out to about his neighbor that's hibernating bees, and so I reached out to Dan and Joe about the issue, but they
Thank you.
but
I know that we've looked into it. I was going to have a further conversation with our city council, with our city attorney.
Anyone else? Alderman Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got communications this evening from Charlene Cogram regarding water issues with one of her neighbors in the unincorporated portion. Apparently is draining water into her yard. We've already talked to municipal services. I've also got a from John Becker and last week after the line of rain we took last week, his backyard flooding. It's aware of that as well. So that's all I got tonight. Thank you.
Mary, I think you believe you have some too.
Yes, I did receive a communication from Larry and Miriam Krapika, just saying that they are very much opposed to an electronic sign on the corner of Plainfield and Cass. They feel that the proposed sign is too large and that the city should not lose control of the messaging for the sign, and they just wanted to express their concern for that moving forward. And I also received a communication from Andrew Kelly about the sign as well, with several suggestions. But in summary, they were that the city should be given at least half of the slots, and that the other half should be limited to local businesses only able to advertise. He also recommended putting up a flagpole around the sign, and just emphasize that everything should be firmly in a contract as it relates to who can advertise and for how long.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that takes us to the mayor's report. I have several items for you tonight. The first item is an update on Census 2020. The data I'm going to give you is as of today. As of May 4th, 2020, 83 million households, or a little bit more than 1/2 of all households in the United States, have responded to Census 2020. Some statistics by state: Illinois ranks 9th nationally with 59.4%. By county, DuPage County ranks 41st with a 69.2%. And as of today, Darien ranks 35th in the state of Illinois with 77.2%. Darien ranks higher than all of our surrounding communities: Hinsdale, Clarendon Hills, Burbridge, Willowbrook, etc., etc. And I want to thank Joe Henderson, because Joe and I have been leading this effort, but it's really been Joe. And when we did this 10 years ago, we got as high as 86%. And my goal this year is that we get at least 86% to 90% of our residents. So I'm very proud of the fact that Darien has done so well in terms of responding. And I want to thank the residents, but I want to encourage those who have not responded to respond. I would also like to let you know that the Census Bureau will not be sending out people to go to households until after June because of the COVID-19 epidemic. That was normally something that was going to start in May. That won't start until June. But again, I'm very proud of our community, and I think we should all be very proud that we're that high. I put something on the agenda called a transition plan, stay at home. I sent you a long, lengthy email on, I believe, Thursday. And today I sent you a copy of a letter from the DuPage mayors and managers. DuPage mayors and managers have written Governor Pritzker a letter urging him to support our efforts in developing a data-driven plan for phased reopening of our communities. This plan will balance sound public health practices with the need to resume modest levels of activity. Darien has been part of this process, and we have developed a template for Darien, which we have submitted to the DMMC for consideration as the conference task force develops a plan for DuPage County. This task force is comprised of county people as well as managers from many of the communities within DuPage County. We are dealing with a very fluid situation. We are dealing with statistics that change daily. Today I had a 1-hour video conference with the DuPage County Public Health Department. They will tell you that they don't feel that we have peaked yet as a state or as a county. And the ironic thing about it is you don't know if you peaked until after you peaked. So they feel that it could be mid-May before we see that peak take place. So they're very cautious about any reopening, and at the same time there's a sensitivity that we have as a city to our businesses. And to be quite honest, all 34 mayors and DuPage mayors and managers are very sensitive to our business communities. So there's a very fine line between moving towards a regional solution, which is what this would be, a regional solution based on the data that distinguishes DuPage County from Cook County or the rest of the state, and maintaining the health of our residents. At the same time, I've contacted the Park District. I've had conversations with Chief Gorski via email from Darien Woodridge, and I'm looking to develop a group of key individuals who could provide us feedback. In my conversations with the Stephanie Gregoni from the Park District, she's indicated to me that they're waiting in limbo, just like many cities are, in terms of what the state's going to allow or not allow for park districts, and then on top of that, they have to go through their insurance carrier. So there's a lot of moving parts with this, but as I told you today and I told you last Thursday, I don't need a critique of the plan. If you want to see the transition plan that I wrote, that's fine. It's a very incomplete plan, although it does specify actions that would need to be taken. And it also specifies a concern for the health of the residents. What I would like from each of you tonight is to tell me how you view reopening businesses and at the same time maintaining the health needs of the residents. So whoever wants to go first, because I'm going to ask each one of you to respond. And like the good teacher that I am, if I don't get a volunteer, I'll call on you. Mary Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that the peak that date keeps changing. It's like a moving target because there are a lot of unknowns. I don't understand when they geared up McCormick Place and spent an exorbitant amount of money to be prepared to have an overflow, and now they're dismantling it because obviously they feel that our hospitals can handle it, yet they're saying we haven't peaked in Illinois. So I'm concerned because I think like me, many people in Illinois and in the world you hear conflicting information. So I feel too that the health and well-being of our community, our country, our nation, our world is so very important. But now we're obviously being faced with the real economic fallout and the impact on not only businesses, but that happening on your average citizen because of unemployment, food insecurities, crime and domestic violence. Come summertime when e-learning is complete, our youth in Darien and across the Chicago metropolitan area are going to have nothing to do. There's going to be no programs for them. There's going to be no jobs for them. So that's a real concern about how these young people are going to be spending their time and their days. And I have a young person in my house that had a packed summer, and now his summer has been cleaned slate. So now he's going to be going to summer school because he needs to be something to do. So there's the health and well-being as it relates to COVID-19 and us social distancing, staying safe, wearing masks is obviously super important. But then it's the residual that is a huge problem. And I think as soon as we can start to open up, roll out some businesses while keeping the protocol in mind, but to get the stores reopened and then also leaving it up to citizens to determine their risk factor. And if you have issues of health or if you're of an older age, that maybe you should continue to let your loved ones who are younger shop for you, do your chores, or the community that has been helping you, Women's Club, Lions Club, and but I think we need to resume our businesses. Otherwise, I think the longer we put that off, the likelihood less businesses will ever be able to reopen.
Thank you, Mary. Mike Corin.
Guess I'm pretty much going to reiterate a lot of the same things Mary said, so I'll try not to be repetitious. But if you recall, when they decided to have the entire shutdown, the main purpose to it was so that our hospitals and medical care weren't overwhelmed. That's why McCormick Place, for instance, was constructed and everything, because they were afraid that there wouldn't be enough ventilators, not enough ICU units or anything to take care of it. So they shut down everything to try and reach this peak. Well, even though we may not have reached the peak, if you look at the availability of all these resources, there's quite a bit there. I mean, even to the point where hospitals are beginning to lay off some of their regular people that aren't taking care of COVID virus. So I think, like Mary says, it's one thing to shut it down, but I mean, I think while we may not have reached the peak, I think we've reached the point where we can seem reasonably comfortable that we have enough medical resources for taking care of the people that might come down with it. The rest of the people, yes, you have to be careful and make sure that if we're older or my age or something, we're going to be more cautious as we go out. But that we need to allow some businesses. I mean, people are trying to feed their family, they're trying to stay in the home, feed their mortgage payments, feed their children. And if you keep these businesses closed, they're not going to have a choice. They're not going to be able to do that. They've gotten some resources from the state and federal government. That is not going to go on forever. That will be ending at some point. So I think judiciously opening, I think you have to be careful. For instance, I mean, I love going to the health club before. I mean, I can't imagine in the foreseeable future going to the health club again. Just working out, I love working out with my friends. I'm in close proximity, everybody heavy breathing and sweating, not wiping down machines and everything. I just can't see that happening in our future. Something like a retail store in Darien. I went to Target today. I mean, I had to wait to get in. They only allowed a certain number of people in. You had to wait 6 feet apart while we were waiting to get in. That they allowed those people in. And, so if you do it cautiously, and again, I think that's the way to go, where you have to allow some of these businesses, some people to be able to start supporting their families again.
Thank you, Mike. Joe Kenny.
So I'm going to go get some syrup here because I'm going to waffle on this one. I want to see the businesses open up. I listen to, my wife listens to a lot of this stats when she's off. My wife's a nurse at Good Samaritan Hospital on a COVID-19 unit. So yes, I want to see the businesses open up for the safety of the medical profession and my household. I don't want to see them open up. So I statistics on deaths or on the death statistics that if somebody is in a hospice care and they succumb to whatever the ailment is, and they had the coronavirus, they get classified as a death of coronavirus, even though they were in there for just health billing. I think there's a lot of numbers that are finagled through that, and that we don't have any control over. We're just going by what is told to us. But at the same time, I see what my wife is getting, at the hospital. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a horse in this race. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just going to respond to, I have a Zoom conference every week with the DuPage Public Health Department. If you go to their website, they have what's called a dashboard. If you go to that dashboard, you can look at statistics, and they will tell you that the data is fluid and data changes, in that what one model might say may be different with another model. I think you don't have anybody through negligence, I think, who is doing anything on purpose. What you're getting is data as real time as they can give it to you. So I'm not defending the public health department. I'm just saying I think the data that's out there is as good as it's going to get, and so I just wanted to say that. But I'll wait for someone else to respond. I've heard from a couple. Eric?
Yeah, I think, it's really, I'm torn on this too, but I really think it's time now that we've got to look at this on a regional basis. And, you're getting communities like East Peoria now, is my understanding, they're opening up this week. So they're defying Pritzker's requirements to do this. So I think there is some communities that are moving forward on this. And I really think it's time for us to be able to move forward. People that are at risk, as Mary indicated, can seclude themselves. But you got to let the other people that aren't the high-risk folks be able to go out there and make a living. You're going to have people losing their homes, losing their apartments and stuff if we don't start to open things up. And, that's a tragedy in itself.
Anyone else? Ted?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is my opinion on this. As soon as the businesses open up, everybody thinks that everybody's going to rush back to the businesses and it's going to be overwhelming and it's going to, be gone out. My gut is saying that if we open the businesses, which we should do, it's going to slowly have people trickle on in and it's going to start to build the businesses back up. I'm going to look at the situation just from my own personal opinion that it's time to open up the businesses. And I don't think it's going to be overwhelming. And Mike was absolutely right. The first thing that he said is about the fact that they turned around to put the quarantine in place to basically not overwhelm the hospitals. But when they're shutting the hospitals down or they're shutting down the McCormick places, that's what they're not anticipating the numbers to be where they're at. So I think it's time to open up the business. Because it's going to go not immediate, it's going to build on up, and that's just how I think it's going to happen. So.
Alderman Belzar?
It's tough, until we have a vaccine, all we're doing is guessing. I think a structured opening up makes sense. Got to do it slow, though, I think. If we start getting numbers that don't look as good as they are, then you got to pull it back again. So it's, it's such a tough situation because there's no answer. There's no ultimate answer to the problem. And so we have that answer, everyone's guessing, and we do need to work. Obviously I'm in favor of some opening up, but I want to have some reins about it too, so we can pull them back in the event things aren't going our way.
Alderman Klista?
Thanks, Mayor. Reiterating what Alderman Belzar and Alderman Schauer mentioned, I would be in favor of reopening. But as an engineer, one of the things I will see as the role in the city is to make sure that the businesses that we do open do meet CDC standards. I think I mentioned this in email before, where you might have one business such as Target, and Mr. Quart has mentioned, that have placemats in the floor to make sure you are 6 feet away. I know when I'm shopping at Target, they also wipe down the conveyor belt at the time the customer goes through, where maybe a certain business in Darien doesn't do that. So I would see the city role and make sure they have standards that, you know, you're not forcing any business to do it, but we would highly recommend that you do it, so our residents and surrounding community have a confidence in shopping in Darien. And so, for example, making it have the 6 foot, making sure that they're wiping down shopping carts. Some businesses do that, some don't. And I think if the city of Darien goes out and goes with the businesses with what they could do and how they can minimize the spread of COVID-19, that would instill a confidence in the community, and we that maybe Darien Connect, that businesses in Darien are going to be held to a high standard, and we're highly confident if you do shop Darien that we have taken all necessary precautions to prevent the spread, and this is one of the safest places to shop. I believe ultimately communities will be opening as well. So we'll be fighting for customers. We will be fighting for tax revenue. And one of the best ways to do that is to say, hey, Darien, we have this standard that maybe other businesses and other communities don't meet. And we really want you to come here because we have these higher standards. So I'm in favor of reopening slowly and seeing what we can do to voluntarily get businesses to meet the systems of wiping down each shopping cart. Of course, there's additional costs. I fully understand that. I believe those additional costs are better than being closed. So.
Thank you, Tom. Lester?
Yeah, I would be in favor of, slow opening, soft opening to get people back in business, back to work. The line of work I'm in, we have a lot of folks out of work. The businesses are hemorrhaging cash, so I think it's important. We kind of have what Tom Klistick was speaking about, a process, right? Where we're holding, the businesses to a certain standard, but also I think we, as a city, should provide, maybe some masks for certain businesses or our seniors, and participate in that whole process of being prepared and letting them know that we're in their corner. So I want to propose to the city council if they would be interested in purchasing surgical masks like the mayor has on right now for senior citizens in our community, where they can come and show their ID and get a free mask to protect themselves. So I'm totally in favor of it. There's no good time to roll out, honestly. In the grand scheme of things, when is a good time? We really don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty, but we have to get back out there. We have to face it, take the right precautions. So.
Thank you. I want all of you to know that I had a conversation last night on a conference call with about 200 mayors and Mayor Lori Lightfoot from the city of Chicago. And if you listen to the governor on Friday, she said that yesterday that he really is starting to take a more regional approach. In other words, DuPage County, our data is different than other areas. So I think he is honestly going to look at whether or not a county like DuPage would have a phased reopening. You all emphasize your concern for how we do it. I think Alderman Belzak mentioned that we would need to take a look at the numbers changed. How would we respond to that? I want to assure you that everything that the DuPage mayors and managers is doing in terms of its task force is working with DuPage County and the DuPage County Public Health Department. So anything that they present as a plan, we would overlay that on Darien, but again, we would be given the parameters, but then we would operate within those parameters as a city for what we feel is good for us. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to put 2 articles in your mailboxes, so if you have a chance over the next couple of days, come in and pick them up. One is an article on, that was put out by a consulting group that talks about reopening and how an economy can be reopened again and how it's being done in some European countries. And the other thing I'm going to put in your mailbox is I'll put the Darien transition program that I worked on, that I submitted to DuPage mayors and managers. So you can take a look at both documents. Mary Sullivan.
Joe, would it be possible if those could be scanned and just emailed to us? Because I know some people are, are avoiding having to go into City Hall, and that would be wonderful if we could just get that electronically.
I can send you the transition plan electronically. I'll have to get the article scanned and to send that to you electronically, but I could do that. Brian?
Mayor, one point to clarify, Alderman Gustafson mentioned, I think it was Peoria, and they're just going to open up to defy the governor's orders. I don't know if that's a city-sponsored opening or what that is, but in all of our discussions, that has not been something that the mayors of DuPage have talked about. And I just wanted to clarify that. Nobody's talked about, defying orders. The whole discussion has been, can we have an impact on the order in terms of statistics related to DuPage or other counties? But again, that's just clarification. I don't know if some community does that. I really don't know what the outcome's going to be, but none of the DuPage mayors have talked about that.
Yeah,
nor supported that.
I mean, this whole discussion we've had as DuPage County mayors with regard to even the letter, there was a lot of disagreement. We wrote a revision to the original letter. We submitted that. We had a discussion on it. Mayor Cherico came up with a revised copy. Mr. Bannon and I looked at that. We gave our approval to that. So, I mean, there's going to be, imagine 34 municipalities all agreeing on a plan. Because you have some mayors who are very much like Alderman Kenny, where they're very concerned about the health aspect, and you have other mayors who want to open everything up right away. And so we have to meet somewhere in the middle. So this plan, however it looks, is going to be very difficult to get everybody's opinion and come up with one plan, but hopefully we'll be there. In my opinion, it's moving too slowly. I'd like to see it move a little quicker, but I'll leave that to you, and I'll get those two documents to you electronically. And I want to thank you for your input tonight. I appreciate that. It takes us to the city clerk report. Joanne?
No report this evening.
Thank you. It takes us to the city administrator's report. Mr. Bannon.
Thank you, Mayor Marquez. I have one item I just wanted to address briefly. This time of year, either we'll get a lot of questions or you'll see a lot of postings on Nextdoor and social media because the property tax bills hit. So there's, a lot of people really don't understand the intricacies, the nitty-gritty of the tax bills. If their tax bill went up and it wasn't due to the city, I might get questioned why the tax bill went up. So we're going to be putting something out in Direct Connect that kind of explains that in more detail on this Thursday, just so residents understand, the assessment process is different from the billing process, which is different from the taxing bodies requesting things. So we'll put something out to try to clarify that. And I had a number of posts I put on Nextdoor over the weekend as people were talking about their tax bills, and some went up, some went down. Not everybody even realized you could be in Darien and have different tax bills. Now, some realize that, but not everybody. But there is one item that information we're putting out, and it has to do, it's from DuPage County, and they're authorizing waiving late fees on property tax payments for taxpayers who can demonstrate financial hardship due to the COVID-19. Now, if people are interested in that, I'm not sure if the notice came with the tax bills, but all that information is on the county website if you're interested. Again, just a quick update because I'm starting to hear and see a lot of things about the property tax. So that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Takes us to the department head information questions. Anyone have any question for Chief Thomas or Mr. Conrad? Alderman Belzak?
I have a question for Chief Thomas. Over the weekend, I was CC'd on an email from a resident who lives behind Jewel, concerned about the refrigeration unit on trucks running. I'm just wondering if that got resolved.
Yes and no.
Jewel has issues with their freezer. Two of their freezers are out, so they put a refrigerated trailer in there to store the frozen foods until they get the freezers fixed. The email I got from the sergeant wrong. It said it was supposed to be fixed. Sent it this evening. It said it was supposed to be fixed 9 a.m. today, or 5/4. I just wonder if you had the wrong date. It's going to be fixed 9 by 9 a.m. 5/5. And once fixed, then they have to move all that product back into the store. So hopefully, you might only need one more night that refrigerator running.
And they, Sergeant Topol, I believe, himself, he left a message on the phone of the gentleman who had emailed, just as an update. Also, thank you.
Anyone else have anything? All right, that takes us to the Treasurer's report. Treasurer Corrin.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year, by the way. It's the start of our new fiscal year. And the warrant is the last warrant of the last fiscal year. We'll have a couple more that we got here. Asking council approval of warrant number 19-2026 in the amount of $286,003.10 from the listed funds and payroll for the period ended April 23rd, the amount of $254,796.72 for a total to be approved of $540,799.82.
Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderwoman Sullivan. Questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Shower,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Gustafson,
I can't hear you.
I'm calling the roll for the vote.
She's calling the roll for the vote on the warrant.
Yeah, I can't, I have a tough time hearing the name she's calling.
Gustafson,
Here.
Clistic,
Aye. Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Vaughn,
He's muted.
Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes.
The next warrant, Mike.
Okay, now let's practice this one more time, guys. Looking for approval of warrant number 20-2101 in the amount of $35,101.60 from listed funds, and no payroll on this one for the same $35,101.60.
Motion to approve. Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderwoman Sullivan. Questions or comments? If none, the roll.
Kenny,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
7 ayes.
The warrants have both been approved, standing committee reports, and I realize that we haven't had a committee meeting for a while. I think we have a PZ, Planning and Zoning meeting this coming Wednesday night, and I think we have another one later in the month. We do not have any of your committees scheduled for the remainder of May. We'll start rescheduling them again in June. Treasurer Corrin.
Yeah, I did want to indicate that we do have a police pension fund meeting. It's going to be done by video. That is on May 14th at 7 p.m. If there are any questions, I would imagine try to get them in prior to that. I don't know if there's going to be any accessibility for the public. I raised the issue with Mr. Vanna, and I passed it along to the people at Lauterbach that conduct the meeting. I'm not sure what the specifics will be, but it will be at 7 p.m. by Zoom video. I'm sure I can get the login information if anyone's interested in that.
Thank you, Mike. Alderman Belzak.
Yeah, just for clarification, so when you had told the Carmelite people that it was going to be transferred to municipal services, that will not be taking place in May, it would be taking place in June?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, that takes us to questions and comments related to the agenda. And this is an opportunity for the public to come forward and to add their voice to one of the items on our agenda. And we do have someone coming forward. Please just state your name.
I'm Grace Peck at 25 Abbey, regarding the car wash agenda. If you can't hear me well, I can maybe...
You can take it down.
Okay, this might be better. So I spoke to all of you about a month ago. I know all of the work has been done to move forward with that motion. So what I wanted to share is some, just restate, I know I've emailed all of you, but I do want to restate a couple comments just based on sitting here listening to some of the other items. So I just want to confirm that the vote is for the annexation. It's not about the car wash. What we discussed a month ago was the car wash is a separate issue, correct? So today the vote is just for the annexation. So similar to, just a couple points to reiterate are similar to one of the comments mentioned earlier by one of the aldermen regarding a different resident regarding flooding from a different unincorporated property. I'm still maintaining the area behind me. The current owners are not, and right now there's already grass growing that it seems like between, we're gonna have an issue. Either I have to tell my mowers to start going into it, or I have to go talk to the car repair place, right? So in this case, I know based on previous experience that municipal services can't really help me because it's not Darien property. So I'm not sure how they're going to help this other resident, but this has already happened. So I just wanted to restate that. I will continue to maintain it, obviously. Also, I'm surprised that we haven't heard information based on what was stated in the last meeting a month ago. We're all working during COVID-19. I feel like I'm working more hours now than I have been before between my regular day job. I'm in a leadership position at my company, and so we've actually slimmed down to 3 days a week of COVID-19 meetings about how to run the company in the mornings. But we're all busy, so I'm sure all of you can relate. The LLC via the county gave us neighbors 2 weeks to respond originally back in March. I feel that the city has given the LLC and the owners over a month because they were here at the last meeting to respond. The attorney did state that they would be submitting a voluntary proposal, but I haven't seen or heard of anything coming through. The LLC attorney also mentioned in the last meeting that they already spoke with the neighbors, which I got up and shared that they had not. So it's been a month now. They could have been proactive and reached out to us. We have received 0 communications still. So, basically based on the LLC actions to date, or the owner, I don't know who's, running it, but I fear that there might be a lot of misinformation or false information that's being presented. Everything from that county proposal to what was stated in the meeting a month ago where, had I not been here, I wouldn't be able to share or know that, they never met with the neighbors. So if that was just taken at, at face value, you guys may not know that they never met with us. So I do want, these are just other things that I'm concerned about if there's any other information that's shared, or if this doesn't go through, this is going to be tough to follow, as residents, especially with COVID-19 happening. We started this process with going door to door right as this COVID-19 was starting, but people are going to be less likely to join public forums, I believe, at least, especially some of the senior citizens in our neighborhood. But again, I'm just here to hope to, have all of your votes to support this annexation. And then obviously, like I started at the beginning and we talked about last time, that if they wish to proceed with the car wash, there's no harm in them submitting a zoning proposal or a change, just like they did through the county. It would just be through Darien, and then those discussions can happen at that point. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I did mention to Grace that there was some discussion during the work session, so she wasn't surprised about a tabling and all that, just so you,
okay.
I just wanted them to know that you were aware of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Unless there's questions for me, I can come back.
It takes us to old business. There being none. We go to consent agenda. There being none. We go to new business. Item A under new business. Consideration of a motion to approve an ordinance annexing certain property in accordance with Section 1-13 of the Illinois Municipal Code 973 75th Street. Motion to approve. Alderman Gustafson. Seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Discussion.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment here, just to kind of follow up real briefly on our discussion from the working session, is that, this property should be Darien property, and we need to move now with the annexation prior to DuPage County deciding on what type of development we should have in our city. We should make that determination and not the county. So and because of that, because of the timing, it's critical that tonight we take this vote and move forward with this, so we take the county out of the picture and we control our own destiny on this. Because it's a valuable property, and we just got to now take ownership of it and make sure it's developed in a way in accordance with Darien zoning regulations.
Anyone else? Alderman Kenny.
So, Mr. Mayor, during the workshop, I had, expressed my concerns about the process and what's going on and how this is going forward. But I'm making an observation here that the proposed owner of this car wash has not been wasn't at City Hall last month when that fund issue came up. And I'm looking in the City Hall again here tonight, and I don't see him. His attorney has sent emails. I think he sent an email here in the last couple of days. And I always say this, but in my real estate business, I can't want to sell somebody's house more than they want it sold. So I can't continue to fight for the owner. Owner does live in my ward, and that was giving him a courtesy, but no, I can't. I gotta agree with Alderman Gustafson here.
Any other comments? Alderman Klista.
Yeah, I'd be willing to make a proposal to table this indefinitely. As an engineer and even accountants, one of the things we go by is numbers. I hear this assumption that vacuum's loud. If I told my boss something's loud, they'd fire me. When the accountant says something's expensive, they'd fire you. I'd actually like to see some numbers when we say this is loud. How many decibels is this? We did the Snowy Day truck. We did the studies for a month of highway noise, and we had over 150 come in to complain, and we still, we went through the process. We understood what the noise really was and ramifications, traffic. And all I'm hearing is concerns and fears. They're very legitimate. But for me as an engineer, I'd like to see some numbers that, okay, it's 110 decibels and sounds like an airplane versus, it's actually only 40 decibels and the traffic is actually louder. So unless you have those assumptions, then I want to annex the property, if someone would want a second table it to the former information.
Now, the thing is, this property, what the whole critical thing is that Darien needs to determine how it should be developed, and if the owner can come back and request, how he ever wants it developed, but it should follow the Darien zoning regulations. And that's the key to this, is that we need to take charge as a community to be able to take care of the property that should be in our community.
Alderman Belzak.
Any type of development, we're just controlling the development going forward.
From the current owner of the property in regard to this, in my understanding, it's a purchase with a contingency that it be zoned for a car wash. There isn't an actual owner of the property as we sit here today, and I'm just curious if he's been involved in anything.
I'll be honest with you. He called the city hall and talked with Joe for a little bit, and then Joe gave him my number. He called me, and he wanted to his comment was to me, he was not very positive about a car wash, because he wanted to be a good citizen, and it just didn't seem like a right fit to him. I then told him I would communicate with the development east of him to see if they would be willing to buy his property. I called them up. They called me back the next day and said they were very interested in buying the property, and I connected the owner of the property up with the developer. So I'm hoping they're having conversations now about a whole different types of connecting that with the development just to the east of them. So So you'll see that the resident, the owner's not even there tonight. So he's already, I think, off in another direction, trying to be able to make a sale to someone else.
Anyone else? Alderman Belzak.
Actually, I just have a question regarding, in the event we vote to annex the property today, what are the timeframes? When does it become Darien property? Is there anything else that needs to be done after today's vote?
Brian, you want to take that, or you want me to answer?
Well, Dan, maybe if I don't cover this, but typically then, once the property's annexed, it gets annexed into our lowest density residential. There is another action that the city takes to rezone that in accordance with our zoning ordinance. And Dan, maybe you could help on that?
Yeah, basically, once we annex it, it'll fall into an R1 zoning. So R1 is a residential zoning. Once that's completed, and whether right now the business fit for the zoning there may be a B2, which is what is surrounding. Again, car wash was proposed under that B2, be a special use along with potential variations. Will the city council allow B3? That's not up to staff, but again, staff probably say that it is under a B2 surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah, and I talked with Joe today in the city hall, and he indicated to me that as soon as, if this does move forward, he would then file it with the county in Wheaton, and then within a week or two, Wheaton would record it, and then it would be completed transaction.
That was my question, and then to follow it up and kind of what Dan was saying. So do we anticipate having some new business at our next meeting, again, in the event that we annex the property, in regard to how that property is going to be zoned? Because it will become R1 immediately, correct?
That's correct. And then it's going to be up to the owner then to come back and request, whatever type of development he wants to be able to come up with, and then go from there. But Joe had indicated to me that he had projected this could be completed by May 20th, was when it would be done and final. Is the date he gave me.
Right.
Alderman Gustafson, I don't know exactly what that includes, because, any rezoning goes through our public hearing process. So maybe he's talking about the annexation formally where that parcel becomes in Darien. But like any other rezoning, it would go to our plan commission and have to go for a public hearing.
No, this was just for the annexation. Rezoning is like you say, is a whole separate process.
And also, Dan, you mentioned B2 as a special use. Just for clarification, I believe that special use for a car wash in B2 is only ancillary to a gas station. So it wouldn't necessarily even fit as a special use under a B2. It would have to go to the higher business, rezone to a higher business district. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Correct, okay.
Alderman Klishtek.
So it's near process, doesn't something get annexed in, it goes automatically to R1 versus going through a process to a B2 or a B3?
Well, it's R1 right. It's R1 right now, so it just stays as R1. Whatever it is what it stays.
Once we annex a property, it typically goes to an R1.
Right. Yeah, it's currently R1 right now, and it would stay that way until the owner decides to get it rezoned.
Or until the city moves to zone the property.
Correct.
So that could be our action, they could request it, but more appropriately, it would be our action to bring forward the proper zoning class for that parcel.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call the question.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Gustafson,
Aye.
Shower,
We can't hear you, Joanne.
I'm
Shower,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
oh,
Clistic? Kenny?
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 nay.
The motion to annex has been approved. It takes us to item B, consideration of a motion to approve a resolution to accept the unit prices for the water main break restoration of concrete sidewalk, apron and curb and gutter from Fortis Incorporated. Motion to approve. Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Questions or comments? Is there an understanding as to why this is on the agenda tonight? We took the concrete program out of the budget this year, the sidewalk replacement program, but we still have water mains in the city of Darien, and we don't have the capability as a public works crew to be doing that finished concrete work. So we needed to bid out concrete work based on repair to water mains, etc. Mr. Gombeck, would you, if it includes more than just fixes to water mains, would you please capture what I'm missing?
No, you are entirely correct. It only relates to water-related deficiencies and/or repairs, and it relates to curb and gutter, aprons, and/or sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
No, the only comment I've got, I'm about the process of going through concrete work in my own property, and looking at the prices that they're offering there, they seem very, very competitive than the prices I was getting, so I think that's a good price.
Alderman Belzak, there's a home in your area on Timber where they're waiting for this as well. They had a water main break, and he's waiting for sidewalk and driveway to be done, and I told him today it's dependent on the council approving this tonight, so he understands that, just to let you know that. If there's no further questions, can we have the roll?
Shower?
Aye.
Belzak?
Aye.
Clistic?
Aye.
Gustafson?
Aye.
Kenny?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Alderman Vaughn.
Vaughn?
He's on mute.
You're on mute.
Aye.
7 ayes. Thank you.
Motion's approved. Takes us to item C, consideration of a motion to direct staff to renegotiate the signed agreement for the 7532 of Cass Avenue Northwest Corner and to direct staff to conduct a new public hearing for a marquee sign at 7532 South Cass Avenue. Motion to approve. Alderman Belzak. Seconded by Alderman Gustafson. Just to give you a little background, the day following your no vote on this issue, I received an email from Chicago Billboards, and they wanted to know specifically why the vote was 4-3. I wrote a very lengthy email to them. I told them there were 4 main reasons why. Not all aldermen agreed on all 4 as objections, but one of the 4 was, and sometimes more than one of the 4, was a reason aldermen voted no. The first one was the length of the contract, which at that point they were asking for 25 years. The second item deals with the amount of time the city of Darien would be on the sign. Number 3 was the need for a guarantee that the only businesses that would be advertised would be Darien businesses. And I said number 4 was the concern that non-for-profits would have to retain. I told them in the conclusion of that, I said that the city was going to go in a different direction. They were going to pursue other avenues for that corner. They came back with a memo, email. They asked me, what could we do to reinterest the city council? And I said, to be quite honest, a 10-year agreement, nothing more. Darien, at least 2 slots on that sign out of 8 would go to the city of Darien, 3, the guarantee for the businesses, and 4, that the non-for-profits would be go on the city's time, and that the non-profits would not be charged. We went back and forth for over a week. Finally, this last Monday, with Mr. Pagonbeck and Mr. Hennepin present, we had their entire staff, and it was at that point that we worked out the Darien having 2 time slots on the out of the 8. 2 would be Darien, the 3rd would be Mr. Manos. So 3 of the 8 slots are free slots. Our 2 are free. The other free one goes to Mr. Manos. I was asked to define the non-for-profits. I have a list of 30-something non-for-profits that I've accumulated. I will be more than happy to share that with you so you could see what that includes. But this was a back and forth negotiation that went on. The only one they couldn't give us was the guarantee that would only be Darien businesses, and they gave a very lengthy and strong rationale for that decision. So my feeling at that point was that they had negotiated in good faith. They originally wanted a 10-year contract with 2 automatic 5-year renewals. I told them no. I said this council will accept nothing more than a 10-year agreement. I said the council asked for more time on the sign. You give us another 10-second slot out of the 8 slots. I said that will go a long way to showing the council your good faith. I would have pushed for 3, but it would have been difficult to push for 3 because only having 4 slots remaining, I know you're going to laugh, but they told me the economics of a 10-year contract would not be favorable to them. And they asked for me to define the non-for-profits, which I did. So that was the negotiation that took place immediately after your last vote. And then we checked with Attorney Murphy, and Attorney Murphy said that if the council recommended that we proceed, we would have to go through another public hearing on this because we changed the conditions of the contract. So that's why this is on the agenda today. I wanted to give you that background information. And now I'll open it up to your discussion. Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor Marquez and the staff and everybody that invested a lot of hours into renegotiating, and I commend Chicago Billboard for their desire to come to an agreement and to spend the time. And I am pleased to see some concessions being made, but some of my concerns are still there in the sense of ad guidelines and it not being only local businesses. And I know that they can provide us with stats and explanations, but just recently when I was parked at the light on Fountain and Janes, where the Bolingbrook sign is for Chicago Billboards, and I know we're in uncertain times, so maybe a lot of people aren't advertising, but several of the ads were .coms and an attorney that appeared to not be local. So I'm concerned that the 5 remaining ads could be completely not Darien businesses and could also possibly be businesses of a competitive nature in nearby towns that would actually draw people out of Darien instead of in. And then my next question is, what happens after the 10 years if the city said, this is not something we want to continue? Do they just remove the structure or do they surrender it to the city? What happens after 10 years? That's a question.
The sign would...
Dan?
And I'm sorry, Mayor Marquez, I can reply to that. If we have that agreement, there was an opportunity for us in the contract that actually says that we would have the opportunity to remove whatever we needed to remove.
Alderman Vaughn.
Would we have the option to buy the sign after 10 years? Can we get that option?
I'm sure that answer is yes. The concern is, at that point, what is the life of that sign, which would be, you like, I'll call it LED screen or whatever the case is. In conjunction with that, it's a matter of who do we go to process the data, unless the sign maybe, Lisa could do something like that, for example, or, I'm just kidding, but, if he's company internal, they may have to work with that programming part.
Sounds pretty easy.
Anyone else?
Lisa, it's yours.
I just want to go back and reiterate the statement that we came out of goal setting with, and the whole intent of the sign was to be a community digital network to provide new communication tools for events, public meetings, and alerts throughout the year. And, the feedback I've gotten from community members is they don't see the need for a large screen to accomplish that, and they would, almost be willing to take something smaller scale, like what you might see at the high school. But they most definitely do not want an advertising billboard like you would see along the interstate, which is very possibly what this could turn into. And it is a tight corner, it is a small corner. I know the fact that we would have to outlay no money is very appealing. And besides the screen itself, the landscaping and the stone would be aesthetically nice. But I personally would like to see us put something on that corner, even if it's not something we can do right away in the next year or two, but it'd still be a gateway and have something match the tower and have it be landscape. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, maybe there's a way that we can work with the builder of the new outlot to negotiate a lower cost and some labor so that we can put something there sooner versus later while they're developing the site.
We talked to Mr. Manos, and Mr. Manos was very disappointed when the first sign was rejected. Mr. Manos was willing to work with us on anything we proposed for that corner. We never mentioned cost sharing with him. When we told him that we were renegotiating, we shared with him the renegotiated conditions. He was quite happy with that. When in effect, he actually loses another slot on the sign, because under the previous agreement, Mr. Manos would get a 10 seconds time slot for the grocery store, the pizza place, and Dunkin' Donuts, and then any of the businesses in the center would get a free or a non-for-profit price for any of the other 5 slots, and with the new agreement, they lose that. So in effect, there still are three free slots. Alderman Kenny.
So Mr. Manos is aware that he's losing one slot, and there's going to be possibly other businesses being advertised to bring him away from Brookhaven?
Mr. Manos is fine with you. Mr. Dombeck, you talked to him directly on that.
That's correct. Mr. Manos, under this new agreement, will have the opportunity to, at no charge, for the grocery store and the new Dunkin' Donuts along with Drino's. Everything else would be on regular rates for Chicago billboards.
And he's fine. And he's fine with that.
But Mr. Manos is also not paying any money for the sign. I mean, it's like he's gaining an advertising mechanism for some of his units.
Correct.
That is true.
Mr. Alderman Gustafson, you had a comment?
Yeah, there's quite a few residents that live in Darien that do not have any internet access whatsoever. I mean, I'm starting to hear from quite a few of them. And I think we've got to look outside the box of how do we communicate with some of those people. And having this sign at a prominent location, I think is a great way, especially now that we're getting 2 of those 10-second slots, to be able to advertise things that those individuals wouldn't see else any other way. And this is their only way of getting communication is since they don't have internet access. There's a lot of them out there that don't.
You know, when I renegotiated this with the Chicago Billboard, I was quite conscious of the concern that a number of you expressed for non-for-profits having an opportunity to advertise for free. One of the reasons I pushed for the second 10 seconds time period was so that we could advertise the non-for-profits on our site. And I thought that was a condition I heard several of you express several weeks ago, and that was one of the things I really pushed hard for. Dan was part of that discussion. And so in effect, we got 3 slots for free out of 8. Every 80 seconds, Darien will be on for 20 seconds. And I understand Alderwoman Sullivan's concern that there's going to be other ads, but Darien will still have 20 seconds every 80 seconds. Any other comments? If none, then the roll.
Belzak.
Aye.
Gustafson. Gustafson.
Aye.
Kenny.
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 Aye.
Clistic. You're muted, okay. Clistic.
Sure.
Shower.
No.
Sullivan.
No.
Vaughn.
Aye.
5 ayes and 2 nays.
Motion passes. That will direct staff. We will have to have a public hearing at this point. And again, I wanted a direction from the council on this because it will need to go back to Attorney Murphy. So before we incurred cost, I wanted to know the direction. I thank you for your reconsideration of this. Takes us to questions and comments and announcements. Anybody have any questions or comments or announcements for the city council? Mary?
Joe, just, I do have a couple announcements, but just a point of clarification. Can you explain the next steps on the sign so that community members know what's going to happen next, and if they want, to continue to be informed or express their opinion either in writing or in person, what the next steps are? Obviously, it's got to go back to a committee, but can you just explain the next steps?
The next step is that there will be a planning and zoning committee meeting, and that will not take place this week. There is one this week, but it will take place 2 weeks from now. So that'll be the public hearing 2 weeks from Wednesday. I don't have that date. And then following their discussion and the public hearing, then it will come back to the city council.
For a final vote?
For a final vote.
Mayor,
So,
we'll have to notice that in the paper, so I don't know. We'll have to notice it in the paper, which,
Yeah, we'll have a notice.
so I don't know the timing, if it'll actually be that 2 weeks or not.
Brian, why don't you state that again? I don't know.
No, Joe could put a schedule tomorrow, Joe H. could put the schedule tomorrow, but we still need to write up the public hearing and get that advertised in advance of the public hearing. So it'll either be another 2 to 4 weeks out. But we will also put it in Direct Connect that there will be a hearing.
okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Alderman Clistek?
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mary.
Just a quick question. I would assume the answer will probably be no. Would we be allowed to hang a banner on the side that says Darien 50 years or congratulations Hinsdale South? I'd assume the answer is no, but just throwing it out there if they would allow that. So you have your advertising, you got your Darien, and on the side, if you had like a banner that stays there, didn't allow that.
Frankly, Tom, I don't know. I couldn't give you an answer to that. We could explore that. Mary?
I think just to piggyback on what Tom is asking, I think it also would help for people to know, and maybe for this information to be available for planning and zoning and for city council members when it comes to a vote, is what their advertising guidelines are and specifications. I think in data, I'd like to see that information presented to planning and zoning and to the council.
All of that was presented the last time they appeared, and I'm sure they could present it again, Mary.
Okay. I mean, I know they have data, but it wasn't like, I don't remember them presenting like guidelines for, or if there's any type of businesses they won't allow to advertise or whatnot, but, okay. I just have a couple announcements then. I'll finish up my speed, and I know, but Lester wants to say something. You're muted, Lester.
Just one question. Can the high schools advertise for free? Can they fall under that not-for-profit slot if they wanted to advertise a game?
The high school, all the schools in Darien, all the schools in Darien's PTAs are listed as non-for-profits.
But they're gonna have to share that space. You've got like 30 people, so it's like you're gonna have to give them a lot of time.
They're not going to all be advertising the thing that you have to remember is there are a number of the schools that already have electronic message boards themselves.
Correct.
And they won't necessarily be running to us to advertise. In fact, I look at the list here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of these organizations already have either electronic or static message boards themselves.
Right, but they'll have to put together some type of protocol because 3 organizations might have an event at the same timetable and only one of them will be able to promote it, so.
Right.
But, you know, I'm sure that that's things they've dealt with before, but that's the kind of information I'd love to hear more about.
Okay.
So, just wanted to say, shout out to Carriage Grades Golf Course that opened up on Friday. They were featured on the news this week too, as they talked about golf courses opening. I live obviously very near Carriage Greens. I was in my ward. I've had the pleasure of playing the course over the last 24 years I've lived in Darien. It had been some time, and I played there Sunday morning with my husband, and I was extremely impressed at how well taken care of the courses. Obviously, it was a little wet, but all courses were wet with all the rain we got last week. Saw a lot of people walking, everyone maintaining social distancing, adhering to the 2 people playing. Lou Ramadani, who's the PGA Pro, was very present, riding around the course, checking on people, and it was just a great round. They seemed quite busy, and I'm encouraging people to get out and take advantage of this wonderful course and enjoy golf, even if you haven't played in a few years. Dust off your clubs, and a lot of people carrying their bags, so it's a great way to get exercise and enjoy the good weather. Another shout out to The Perfect Swing, and it's been a business here in Darien for over 16 years. Bill Carpenter and his brother PJ Saccone, who both are Darien residents, graciously donated 1,000 masks to the city of Darien for us to use for the city to determine. They recommended obviously making sure the fire department and the police department and city staff and municipal services had access to it, but those have been delivered to City Hall, and that was a very generous and thoughtful donation by them. And just, continuing to say that Darien continues to shine as a city of people who do extraordinary things and have amazing volunteer organizations. The Darien Women's Club, the Darien Lions Club, and the Darien Rotary Club, just to speak of a few. The wonderful, generous donations they continue to give, food pantries and monetary and in gift cards, and so many service organizations, big and small, really stepping up during these challenging times. And it makes me so proud to be a resident and be a part of this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Be well, everybody.
If nothing further, I need a motion to adjourn. Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Meeting's adjourned at 9:05. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.